All right. Good morning. Welcome to our podcast. We are Spiritual Vacancy. We are here to help assist in your spiritual void. My name is Brooke Ann. I am a psychic medium, Reiki practitioner, and a light worker, and I am with the lovely.
Mona Lee. Hey, I'm Mona. Mona Lee here. I'm a holistic health practitioner. I do energy healing for mind, body, and spirit. And yeah, excited to be here today.
I know, me too. We are glad
Yeah.
that you are listening to us today, and we are talking about karma, all about karma. So, we're going to be talking about spiritual karma today, universal karma, and if you've never heard of cardology, we're going to be talking about that as well. So, Mona, kick us off with some spiritual karma, some stories you got, or what is spiritual
Yeah. Oh
karma?
my
What is
goodness.
that?
Yes. Well, karma, a lot of times, when we hear people just casually talk about karma, right? Oh, that's good karma, that's bad karma. Well, karma can be good or bad or indifferent. It really depends on what we put out there in the universe, doesn't it, Brooke? And
Definitely.
it's like it really is. It's like what you put out is what you receive. And through my lifetime, I'm half Asian, half American. So my Asian side of my family is always, you have to watch your karma, you got to have good karma, and it's like whatever action. So like my family would go to, for example, they would live to the next lifetime. They would go to the temples and we would feed the monks. And my grandfather was a monk in the temples in Thailand until he had passed. And the karma was to go feed the monks and make sure that we are eating in a full plethora of food abundant to us as we do good in this lifetime. But I believe karma is also in this lifetime of whatever we put out there we get back, and the universe doesn't forget. I
Yeah.
believe that the universal law is when we put good out, we get good. When we put bad out, we get funky things that happen. So, did you have a story, Brooke, that you want to share about anything that happened to you in this lifetime or
Yeah,
anything?
there's definitely the universal karma, what goes around comes around, and it does. And we're like, it's even when you're driving and you see that car like speeding by, you are driving like such a jerk. And you're like, where's a cop when you need one? I promise one day they're gonna get pulled over. It's gonna be really bad. Or something's gonna happen where, that they're gonna get in trouble for what they're doing, even though we don't get to witness it, it comes back around. So one of my stories, which most of people will not believe this, but when I was 14, I was sleeping at my friend's house. Her name was Linda, and we stole her mom's car. And we were 14 years old, and we stole her car. We wanted to go to a party, and we literally put it in neutral in the driveway, rolled it out the driveway. She pushed it down the street while I steered. And then we started it down the street. And you're talking about, we want to go to this party. And it was 11 o'clock at night. And we go to the party, and it's in an apartment complex. And there's like these poles like that in between the cars. So it's very tight spaces. And mind you, I don't know how to drive, and I'm driving this vehicle. And when we
14.
go to leave the party, I don't know how to back up. And I think I do. And when I start to back up, I have the steering wheel all the way turned, and her mom's car was like a bright blue Geo Storm or something like Geo, I don't know, it was a Geo something.
Mm.
And I was, next thing I know, I'm on the side of the car next to me. So I'm literally sideways up on the side of this vehicle, on their right hand side of their vehicle, and I don't know what to do. And I'm looking at my friend Linda, and I am like, oh my freaking God, what do I do? And she's like, just hit the gas. And I'm like, all right, I'll just hit the gas.
Oh,
The whole the whole right side of the vehicle completely damaged.
oh my gosh.
We are like shaking, but we take off. So I did a hit and run, and we go back to her house. We park it. I have no idea how we didn't get in trouble. We parked it. We climbed back into her window. The next morning, her mom literally thought that somebody hit her at Walmart the night before, and she didn't notice because the full left side of her driver's side bumper and the headlight was completely smashed. And she
Oh
just
my
thought
goodness.
somebody hit her at Walmart the night before. I mean, I was praying. I was like, oh my gosh, please don't get in trouble. Like, I'm like
Oh
crying. I
my
can't believe we did
goodness.
that. Right. And then we never got caught. But fast forward, so that was when I was 14. When after I moved to Myrtle Beach from California, I was driving, I got T-boned, and they were in the wrong because they were drunk. The car had no insurance, and it wasn't even their vehicle that they were driving. Mind you, it was the same side of my car that I hit those people in the hit and run, the random person. Their whole right side was damaged. My whole right side was damaged. I had to drive around with my vehicle smashed in for like over a year because I had to pay my deductible, which was $1,700. And at that time, I didn't have $1,700 to fix my car. So everybody had to get in to my car through the driver's seat if you were a passenger. And I drove it around. Now,
Oh my
mind you, the
goodness.
good thing was nobody messed with me because I knew I didn't care about my car. So you could tell drivers were a little more cautious around me with the whole side being smashed in. But to me, that
Yeah.
was my karma coming back, what would that be? 6, 7 years later. And almost the
Mm.
identical thing where the person that hit me had nothing. So it would have been like a hit and run pretty much of what I did
Wow.
there. So I know everything comes back, good and bad. So it's
Yeah.
always better to do good.
Yeah,
You get
absolutely.
good back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And do you have any
Wow.
like spiritual karma that you want to talk about or stuff from past lives
Oh.
that you think karma's coming in from past lives or affects you in this life?
You know what? I do have something to share about that because I do believe that this is not our only lifetime. Oh, this is one of my karma here, this kitty cat
Kitty.
here. I had
Oh,
given up a kitty cat in the past, and this one had come back to me, and she's such a sweetheart. She's my grandbaby with fur.
she
Love
is a sweetheart.
Yes, but
Yeah.
I do have a karma story on that, and it was my first past life regression that I've ever had, and at this time, it's probably about 15 years ago, and I was going through at that time a divorce, and I thought, oh no, I'm afraid of this whole dating world again because I would date and then stop and then date and stop and then date. And it was not a good pattern. I realized I had a pattern going on, but it really came into fruition with my past life regression that I had. And I found that I was a geisha in one of my past lives. And my mother of this lifetime, who seems to be sometimes a bossy Asian lady, was also my geisha mother who would tell me what to do and who to be with and who to love. And I don't understand a lot about geishas, but I know that I was always drawn to seeing pictures of geishas and just my heart would pound when I would see anything about geishas. But when I found that in my past life regression and I felt myself as a geisha, I looked at my little tiny feet as a geisha and also found that the person of this lifetime, that was my first love of this lifetime, was in my past lifetime. And he was taken from me because we fell in love. And as a geisha, you're not to do that. You're to love and serve and go on. And in this lifetime, just like the time before, he was kind of taken from me. We weren't allowed to see each other because of nationalities at the time. But it was very interesting. And then I found also that my patterns of this lifetime seem to be stemming from the love life of my geisha love life, where I would just love and serve and leave and love and serve and leave. And then when I found that correlation, I thought, oh my goodness, that is karma. That is something that I had to learn from, that I'm not a geisha in this lifetime. I got to quit that stuff. But then I blamed it on abandonment issues, as a young child of this lifetime. But then again, that could have been part of the correlation as well. But it seemed to make sense, of the karmic patterns that kind of played along, if that makes sense.
Definitely. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
yes. And do you
Yeah.
have a story about your daughter as well being a karmic lesson
Yes.
or a karmic, tie to
Yes.
a past life?
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. And we did speak about this one time before. I'm glad you bring this up because this was my last daughter, and she came during divorce when I had gotten pregnant with her. And she is my little angel of this lifetime. But there were moments that we would kind of butt heads a little bit. And I had our cardology reading with our friend Pippo. And she is such an awesome cardology reader. And that, for those of you in the audience who don't know what cardology is, it's a mix of astrology and numerology, where you give your birthday and all of your loved ones' birthdays and any significant people in your life their birthdays as well. And then in the reading, sometimes you have a karmic relationship with another person. And the person that came up that I have a karmic relationship is my last daughter. And from her birthday and my birthday, but it's karma wasn't a bad thing. It's something that I'm to learn things from. And she had been my little angel that came in that brought me really fully in full circle to my spirituality of having God, Holy Spirit, Jesus back in, because there were moments in my spiritual growth that I was like, I don't want to talk about God or Jesus. And then she had brought that back for me in a way that was so beautiful and so pure. And that was a beautiful karmic relationship that
Definitely.
came back. It was a lesson to be learned, is what I took that one as for cardology.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cardology is cool because it's so
Mhm.
different. And with the
Yes.
karmic stuff and the luckily, so when you do the reading with Pip, I
Mhm.
don't have any karma
Mhm.
due in this lifetime. All the
Uh-huh.
karma in my chart is owed to me. So
Mm.
it's I'm like, is that where what goes around comes around? Is that where it's like my all my karmic stuff comes back around to me, good or bad? But I think that's everybody, not just me. But I don't have any karmic loved ones, at least that are in my immediate family in my chart. Now my mom, she was like, "Who's Linda?" And I said, "Oh, that's my mom." And she's like, "Oh, I'm glad I'm not reading her cards. She's got double karma cards because both of her life card and her planetary card are both sixes. So I guess a six is a very karmic number somehow in cardology. I don't know because I'm not a six. And then what's interesting is you're in my chart a lot, Mona, like
Huh.
in it. And it's very
Yes.
interesting, but it's good. It's never like a karmic thing or anything like that. But
Yes.
the cardology stuff is cool, and it's also with like numbers, and it's interesting that my husband and son on the cardology are both the same cards, but their
Wow.
birthdays are different. My husband's is in December and my son's is in March, but they have the same cards.
Interesting. Do you
Yeah,
find they have a lot of similarities, being that they're the same card or the same type of energies in
they
ways?
do. They do. Because somehow I feel like my son is some kind of karmic relationship to me because, like how you said, you butt heads with your daughter. Well,
Yes.
me and him are like oil and water. Like we love each other, but we could just fight like immensely with, not physically, of course, but like with our words, or we don't think alike. He's always been a lot closer to his dad than with me. And I'm like, well, wouldn't you know, they have the same freaking cards and they are like
Ah,
one and the same. And but what's also interesting is Jeremy is not his biological father. So it's
okay.
interesting that they have the same cards.
Yes.
And he is his dad, whether he's the biological father or not. He's been in our life since Camden was 4 months old. But I'm
Yes.
like, there's so much more to the universe and to the spiritual world and to everything, how we're all interconnected, than
Yes.
we can even realize because of those cards being the same. And they're not even like really related, biologically, but it
Yes.
doesn't
Yes.
matter. It
But
doesn't
the
matter.
energetic path is somewhat the same. That's interesting too. And we think about also as far as karma or relationships or oil and water is sticking in my mind of what you had said about you and your son. And those are some of the most incredible opportunities of growth, aren't
Yeah.
they?
Yes.
Whenever we have things that kind of don't really blend, it just gives us awareness to another way of thinking about things that we normally wouldn't have thought of those things
It
as.
does. You know, he
So they can
gives
be our
me,
teachers.
yes, because he gives me a different perspective on life. I'll actually listen to the words he says because me and him think so differently on everything. Our views are different on things, the way we think are different. But then I will say things, and him being, 21 years old, he'll come at me with something where I'm like, are you sure you're 21? Because then when I think about it, I'm like, wow, that's so good that he thinks that way. Because then I do learn something from him. Because it was something about social media where somebody had posted something negative on one of his TikToks. And I said, did you see that what someone posted? And he's like, Mom, it doesn't matter. Like, why would you even think about it like that? Nobody cares. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it doesn't really matter what people think as long as you're happy. He's like, yeah, who cares? They're helping my algorithm. They're helping, like, negative press is good press. So I'm like,
Oh,
I didn't think about it that way. Some people get so emotional with what people post on other people's social media, but in the end, who cares? Like, it's just
yeah.
somebody's opinion, right? And it doesn't make or
Isn't it
break them.
great?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it's just having the different view of a different generation as well,
Yes.
because they all think differently as well. And that can be also a beautiful way of connecting and through the disconnect.
Yes. Yes.
Instead of
Exactly.
the reconnect.
Exactly. Exactly. But I
Yes.
think karma is, there's so much we could talk about karma, and I know we have so many stories about karma, but is there anything else you want to add about spiritual karma or anything else?
The only thing that really sticks in my mind that I think is so important for our planet is when I was 5 years old, I remembered seeing the golden rule. And I remembered seeing children that were just mean to each other, or some adults that were mean to children. And then I saw the golden rule of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And when I saw that, I thought, oh my goodness, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And if we could just take that on, that whatever we want to receive is what we need to give. Same
Yeah.
with when it comes to love. If we want to have love, we've got to give love.
Yep.
If we want
Yes.
to have friendship, we've got to be a friend. If we want
Exactly.
kindness, we've got to give kindness. And that's how simple it can be.
Yep.
So if we
Yep.
can just remember that, that's what my prayer is for the planet, that we can just raise the vibes of humanity and just be good, be nice, be
I
nice,
know.
be
Be
nice.
nice, be positive.
Yes,
Quit being a
yes,
negative Nancy. Be
yes,
positive, be
yes,
patient. People are
yes.
so impatient nowadays, and it's like it literally gets you nowhere. They're
Mhm,
they are literally getting frustrated for no reason. And it's
mhm.
like, and they're usually frustrated and they did it to themselves because
Yeah,
they're running late. They did something wrong. When you start your day late, everything is ends up being wrong. Like you can't get there fast enough. I mean, all of it. It's just like such a shit day where you want to go back to bed and start over, right?
yeah,
But
right,
if everybody could just be positive and see the good in everybody and not go right to negative, it would be huge. It would make such a big difference.
right.
Yeah.
Well, let's just pray for that we
Yeah.
can just be nice and kind and good human beings, all right?
Yes. Only positive thoughts, people. Come
That's
on
right.
now. No negativity allowed here.
That's right.
But
That's
we
right.
thank you guys for tuning in with us. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week. Namaste.
Yeah.
Have a
Namaste.
beautiful day.
You too. Have a good
Bye.
day. Bye-bye.
Bye.